Welcome everyone to the July AAC Promising Practices webinar, Youth Engagement, Embracing the Power of Youth. My name is Rebecca Trout, and I am the Director of the All-America City Awards here at the National Civic League. The National Civic League is a 125-year-old nonprofit that aims to advance civic engagement to equitable and thriving communities. And if I may just interrupt real quick, if you are speaking, I can have you go ahead and mute your phone. That way we don't have any feedback. That would be great. So the All-America City Award is our flagship program, which began in 1949 to recognize exceptional civic engagement in local government. June was a very exciting month for us. We held the 2019 All-America City Awards competition here in Denver, Colorado. All of the finalists presented their community well with lively and content-rich presentations, and at the end of the weekend, 10 communities were given the designation of the 2019 All-America Cities. You can see the winning communities in the title slide on your screen. It was a diverse group on both the size and location and project type. So now we are already moving on to 2020. Our theme is going to be enhancing health, well-being, civic engagement. The application dates are bumped up a few years, so if your community is tentatively thinking about applying, make sure you take note of these new dates. We will be joined by our title sponsors, Kaiser Permanente and the Wellbeing Trust. While AAC does celebrate the great work through our awards competition and program, we also aim to share those innovative practices that we learn around the country through avenues such as monthly webinar series. So today we'll be learning about a program that is intentionally embracing and empowering youth. Then we will be hearing from this year's John Parr Youth Leadership Award winners. They'll discuss the programs and work that they have done to distinguish themselves as leaders. So first up, we have Maggie Chapo from the Mikva Challenge. Maggie is the Colorado Partnership Director for the Mikva Challenge. Maggie, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Rebecca. Let me get my application pulled up. All right. Well, good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you're joining us from. Like Becca said, my name is Maggie Chapo, and I'm thrilled to represent the Mikva Challenge, where we believe that democracy is a verb. This fall, I'll be starting my 13th year of teaching, but even better yet, my 10th year of being a Mikva teacher. While a new teacher yes, go ahead.
To interrupt, your screen seems to be black.
Okay, let's see here. It says on my end that I am sharing. Let me see here. Okay, let me try one more time. Can you see anything now, Rebecca?
It says that I'm viewing your application, but it's still just a black screen. So I'm just going to share it from my end, and if you'll just tell me when you want me to change the slide.
That sounds fine. Okay, so we're on the first slide right now. So like I said, this is my 10th year as a Mikva teacher. While I was a new teacher in Chicago, I had inherited a political science course. And the only direction that was given to me was just talk about government. And so I was very overwhelmed. I was definitely feeling a little bit lost. And yet, what a dream scenario for a teacher. I had full autonomy to build out this course. I got hooked up with the challenge. They were piloting their Action Civics curriculum, and they came home with a homemade binder of lessons. I just remember thinking, this is so cool. In advance. So to tell you a little bit about the challenge, Mikva was founded in 1998 as a tribute to former White House counsel, Congressman Abner Mikva, and his wife Zoe, who was a lifelong teacher and educational activist. Mikva is nonprofit, nonpartisan, and our goal is to develop leaders who are empowered, informed, and active citizens. And we envision a stronger, more inclusive democracy that really values youth voice. So that's a really nice, maybe kind of boilerplate definition of Mikva. But what is Mikva to teachers or to group leaders? Next slide. To me, as a teacher, Mikva is authenticity and engagement. Mikva is immediate increased classroom community and engagement. Mikva is authentic support and professional development. Like I mentioned earlier, the focus on developing youth leaders, being that youth voice, and really transforming civic education. Next. There are a number of ways for young people to get involved in Mikva. Let's talk briefly about the programming, and then I'm going to focus in on our classroom programming. But first, I want to talk about the Youth Policy Councils, our Mikva Government Fellows. Both of these programs allow students to advise city leaders on issues that are affecting youth, as well as providing internships in the public sector, where students can really serve their constituents, hone in on their civic leadership skills. Mikva also provides authentic and professional development for teachers and other school leaders. And lastly, Mikva has 3 classroom-based action civics programs, and those are at the top of your slide here. So Elections in Action is our first, and Elections in Action prepares young people to participate in elections. We do that by facilitating volunteer work, are working as poll workers and student judges. They're hosting campaign forums, they're volunteering on campaigns, and creating voter guides. In addition, the second programs that are listed there are Issues to Action and Project Soapbox. These involve people in problem solving, starting with community analysis and then culminating with that Action Civic program. Next slide. For Action Civics at Mikva is really encompassing of 4 ideals that we want to keep in mind. Youth voice, youth expertise, the idea that we learn by doing, whether that's taking part in a campaign, whether that's giving or writing a petition, and then finally reflection. And reflection is a really crucial step, and that's going to happen really throughout the entire process. All right, next slide. So again, I'm coming from a classroom perspective, but you know, when implementing actions in the classroom or when implementing with your group, Mikva uses a 6-step activism process. Step 1 is to examine the community. Step 2 is to identify issues. Step 3, conduct research. Step 4, analyze power. Step 5, develop strategies. And finally, step 6, take action. And while these steps are numbered, your group may find itself going back and forth between the steps rather organically, or even kind of living just within one space for quite a while. And that's okay. I think it's the fact that you're moving through and you're thinking about activism. All right, next slide. So talk about was identifying and this may be your classroom community first. I find that the beginning of the year or the beginning of time with your group, it's really helpful to use these lessons to not only think about what is our outside community, but what are some of the roles and responsibilities that we have inside our classroom as well. Is to identify the issues. And Project Soapbox is a wonderful way to do this. And Rebecca, you can go ahead and go to the next slide. Project Soapbox is a 2-week curriculum, and it is aligned to standards, so that's incredibly helpful for teachers. It enables students to use their voice and their expertise to speak out about an issue in a productive, positive atmosphere. And student choice and voice really lead the way in driving the project. Students are able to write and deliver a 2-minute speech about an issue of their choice. And this is when teachers and facilitators really need to just buckle up, because when you allow students, complete freedom of choice to speak out about what really matters to them, these speeches really do end up becoming sometimes very emotional, but just very deep and caring by the students. So it's a wonderful experience. Students will conduct relevant research, compile evidence, so we're getting our Common Core skills in there as well, identify and articulate to a specific audience, and finally end with a call to action. And Project Soapbox as a wonderful jumping to continue your journey along those 6 steps of the Action Civics model. However, if you're a new teacher, if you have a lot of other mandated curriculum that you simply must get to, or if you just want to take a pause, Project Soapbox is a nice place to do that. It's a great community event, it's a great school event, and this is where you feel comfortable living for the moment. I really encourage you to dip your toe into the water of Action Civics using Project Soapbox. If your group is ready to continue on, then we can move on to the next step, which will be research. And let's go to the next slide. So research is the next step. We'll normally get together and say, look, there are 30 students in this class, and we've each had a different Project Soapbox topic. Let's have a discussion and kind of think about what's one topic or 2 topics that we want to really push further. And that's how you're going to identify your Action Civics topic. Once that topic has been identified, students are going to dive into their chosen issue. They're going to conduct both qualitative and quantitative research. That may be through interviews, compiling data, analyzing root causes, really whatever works for your issue, because each issue is going to be a little bit different in terms of the research that's needed. And Mikva provides great research outlines and structures that you can utilize. Also, to note that sometimes more research leads to more questions. That's fine, and that's kind of, as I mentioned earlier, you may be in these spaces for quite a while, really making sure that everyone in your group understands the issue. And if you go to the next slide, I have an example that I want to share with you all. These are examples of root cause trees. We use this model to examine the symptoms and the causes. So on the left, they were looking at gang activity, and on the right, they're looking at larger issues of homelessness. What you see on the top of the posters, kind of where the leaves on the tree would be, these are the symptoms. So for these students said, look, I see a lot of shooting or kidnapping, theft, fighting in my neighborhood because of the gang activity. Below are the roots. The students are really trying to dig deep and think about, so what's causing this gang activity? And as you can see, again, I'm referencing the one on the left for the activity, they're looking at, well, I think drugs might be a problem. And so really encouraging students to tackle the issue by going after one of the root causes and not to get bogged down in an issue that might seem so large and possible to tackle. But if we can tackle one of those root causes, we can really make a difference. Let's go on to the next slide. The fourth step is to analyze power. So students will really need to find the people and the groups that have the power to make a decision that suits your student's goals. So identifying both allies and opponents. Be your principal, your school board, your local council, state or federal officials. And it really just depends on the issue that your students have chosen. Next slide. This is an example of one of the resources that we use during this step, and this is the self-interest analysis. And so this is really allowing students to think about, what would this decision maker think? What is their motivation behind the choice that they would make? So we can really prepare students for that final step of meeting with the decision maker and pitching their idea. All right, next slide, please. So step 5 is to develop strategies. You need to think about where you are and where you're going in the immediate. So we can think about this. I think this visual is really helpful to think about this like a baseball field. First base, we want to make sure that we're raising awareness about the issue, making sure that we feel educated enough that we can then educate the public. That will allow us to move to second base, which is demonstrating support. So making sure that people in your community also agree, hey, this is an issue that we want to be working on. You definitely want to make sure that you have that community support. Third base is to directly ask a decision. And then making that home run would be then to maybe rewrite your goal and obviously to reflect. I think that's incredibly important. Next slide. I want to share with you a couple of examples of what that action step may look like. And knowing that it might look different, again, depending on your community, depending on capacity, what that goal was. So the final step is to take action. This is a photograph from a school-wide panel and round reflection that a group of Mikva students conducted in Chicago. Our school had gone through about 4 administrators in the last 3 years, and we were really experiencing a lot of change. We're struggling to adapt to that change, and they were also really wanting to speak out about some very specific issues. And so what this group said was, look, we need to get everybody on the same page. We need to feel like we can voice our opinions. And so this group of Mikva students invited cafeteria manager, administration, athletic director, custodial staff, support staff, and said, please come and let us ask you some questions. Let's open a dialogue. And what you're seeing in this picture happened immediately after that roundtable discussion, where students and some teachers that the students had selected that they felt like they had a good amount of trust in were able to debrief. And what they're doing there with that poster on the wall is they're coming up with some suggestions that we were able to pass along to our decision makers at our school. And it really ended up being a wonderful event to open up that communication. All right, next slide. So this is a photograph of the Issues to Action Showcase. This is where students from across the city of Chicago got together, were able to present the issues that they had been working on, action steps that they had taken. And if you hadn't gotten to that action step yet, kind of think about where have we gotten so far, and getting some feedback, getting support from other people and adult allies. And the range of projects is amazing. In the years that I participated in this, my students took on issues such as domestic violence. They talked about rape culture. They talked about gang violence, and all of that heavy stuff down to something that was a little bit, not quite as large, but school spirit, which is still an important issue for young people and our communities. All right, let's go to the next one. And this is a photograph from Elections in Action, the program that I had mentioned previously, where we're getting students out and involved in campaign opportunities. This was a group trip to Wisconsin, and I, to this day, know that there are some adults out there that are scared to pick up the phone and order a pizza, or scared to knock on their neighbor's door, but kiddos do a great job. They get some singing and some practice, and then they'll go and knock on doors, obviously as a group. They'll talk to potential voters, and they'll, just explain why they're there and what issues are important to them. And so it's really a transformative experience, not only from that action, but also building those skills that students need for the future. Next slide. So I wanted to return to this visual because I really want to underscore the fact that you don't have to hit a home run or hold a huge event or meet with the decision maker to have success with action civics. Success is taking a swing. Mikva is able to kind of tee you up with some great resources, but really just showing up and getting on the board in terms of those action civic steps are incredibly important. So raise awareness, build support, and be empowered to start practicing action civics. Your first time, your next time, your last time with action civics is never going to be perfect, but it's part of that process, and really getting that youth voice and that youth expertise and trying to leverage that. As a teacher, I just kind of know that Mikva is working in my classroom, and see that when my students use their skills and their knowledge to have appropriate discussions, when they advocate for themselves out of the classroom, and when they make that lasting community change. Next slide. But the data is also showing us the same thing. What I see in the classroom, the larger data is showing us as well, that when Mikva alums compare their peers, they're 3 times more likely to vote. They're 4 times more likely to keep up with the news, and they're 16 times more likely to volunteer in future elections. So, I go back 10 years ago, walking home and clutching a homemade binder, which I still have and I still use. I never could have predicted the impact that Mikva has had on myself or my students. And just really want to underscore the fact that action civics isn't just cool. Action civics is crucial. And if you want to go to the next slide, I'll share some contact information. Questions, or you want to reach out for more information, Brian is our executive director, and his email is there, brian@mikvachallenge.org, as well as people welcome to check out the website, which is mikvachallenge.org. And thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that presentation. And we do have a couple of questions in the chat box, but how we'll do that is we'll have everyone present, and then at the end we'll leave some time for questions. So for those of you on the computer, if you have a question, please go ahead and submit it in the chat box, and I'll be sure that I tee up those questions to the presenters at the end. So now we're going to be joined by Charles Ellington from Rancho Cordova, California. He is a co-founder and mentor of MOX program, which stands for Mentors and Mentees at Cordova High. Charles, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Rebecca. And I want to say thank you, Maggie. That presentation was amazing. And I wanted to say thank you to all of you who joined in today, and good day. So I'll just get started real quick. I decided to include our mission statement because through founding the mock program, we really have to sit down and kind of visualize some of the needs that we saw that weren't addressed in our community and develop a plan in order to address them the best way that we could. And so I'm not going to read the whole thing, but one of our mottos at mock is it takes a village. Since we focused on mentoring youth from ages like 14 to 25, we found that it's really important to include adults, responsible adults in their lives that will be there not from their youth until they get older, because it doesn't stop at the end of high school. Well into college and into their 20s, they're going to need help as well. So it's good for them to have individuals that they can count on and know that are going to be there. Our mentors were comprised of teachers, alumni, community members, but mostly it's regular everyday staff from around the community who have taken a vested interest in joining and developing youth. And everything is completely volunteer. There's no paid positions, and we do this because we found that making so that it's volunteer work kind of weeds out the people who are just there for the money. Because what we don't want to do at mock is give temporary positions, because like I said, a lot of our students, they have people coming in and out of their lives often, and so we want permanent mentors who be there for students and address their needs for a long time. And our mentees, they are attendees at our local high school at Cordova. We take them in for freshmen. We don't have any middle school programs yet, but we do reach out to similar programs as ours in the middle school level. And so some of our expectations at mock, we focus on attendance, behavior, and grades. Those are the main three criteria for mock, because what we do is our organization takes the expected performance that you'd want to see out of students for school, and we don't just give them a pat on the back, we actually reward them for that in the form of trips, what have you. We have monetary rewards, and like gift cards, things like that, the whole slew. And the cool thing about mock is the students get to choose their rewards for the program. So we have, right now going on, we have planning sessions for the upcoming year, and at those planning sessions, all of our students who are a part of our program are able to participate and choose what their rewards will be for the next year. So you can go to the next slide, Rebecca, please. All right, so we have year-round projects that we do for mock, and I couldn't fit them all in. But one that I really did want to highlight was our Bigs and Littles literacy program. So what this is our high school students get to sign up and have pen pals with the local elementary school students. And one day a week, we visit the elementary schools and we go read books with them and give them rewards. We track their reading, we track their progress. Because just like we're mentors to the students, we like the students to get a taste of what it feels like to be a leader. And to have somebody looking up to them, that way they know that they kind of have to walk a straight path, because, they're affecting not only themselves, but somebody else who's much younger than them coming up in the world. So I really feel like this program benefits everybody in the community. It's very popular because parents like to see this. Now, the students love it, and the elementary kids love it too. Next slide. So our program is really based upon preparing our students for the next level, whatever that may be. And at Mock, we kind of recognize that not everybody is made out for college. School is great, and, our requirement is at least a 2.5 GPA for our program. But beyond high school, we understand that some students they're done with school and they want to move on to something else. They have other interests. And so kind of the cookie cutter approach where we just ship them off and say, oh, you have to get into college. We know that doesn't work for everybody. So we try to incorporate as much vocational training into our programs as we can. We have public speakers come and give out resources that help our students sign up for internships and apprenticeships for vocational positions, but we also like to incorporate some training ourselves in the program. So, we have a partnership with the Cordova Community Council, in which we can go up to Mount Shasta, and there's a property there that we do wood cutting there, and we show proper tool maintenance and things like that. And we also have landscaping training for everybody in the program if they choose to participate. So I really think that's pretty unique of our program. And we encourage college, but we know that, not everybody is interested in that. So we try to incorporate all interests into our program. So next slide. Thank you. Another one of our criteria for mock is professional development. And we really do focus on this at our program because no matter what field you go into, no matter if you want to do vocational things or if you want to, be a Yale professor, you're going to need to be professional. And so we have guest speakers who visit every week, and we train the students on interview skills, and we have resume drafting courses. We have multiple curriculum, and we have college and career counselors that come and help with cover letters. And the good thing about being in a village is you have plenty of people to recommend you for positions or help you get into positions at city council or the city or wherever that you see yourself working. We have partnerships with people in pretty much every branch so that we can get you in touch with somebody, but the professional development comes first. So we really like to work with our students on that and make sure that they have the prerequisite skills in order to achieve their goals. And so with our professional development courses, we're now starting to track them. Mock is in its infancy, so this is only our third official year. So a lot of this stuff it's slowly building up to the point where we want it to be, but we've already have a lot underway that I'm really proud of for our program. So next slide. So really, we wouldn't have a program without volunteer work, like I stated earlier. And we have partnerships that pretty much not only get our students engaged with the community, engaged with the city, but also we have the opportunity to provide our students with kind of the first things that go on their resumes. One of the big complaints that we had from our students was that, they're applying for jobs and, they have all these requirements and they want 5 years work experience, but, where do you get that as a 17, 18-year-old, So volunteer work is a great way to start. We always have volunteer work. We have several events that are lined up every year that are for sure things with our community council, but we also have a lot of smaller things that we have lined up, such as, planting trees, taking down fences. We do memorial events for the veterans, and we work closely with our partner programs to ensure that they have help, but not only that, it's mutually beneficial for our program as well. And so the added benefit of our students getting, some experience to put on their resumes, and they understand how that transitions into work. And like I was kind of highlighting at the National Civic League presentation, where 20% of our students converted volunteer work into part-time jobs already. So I'm really proud of that accomplishment, and then we're going to continue to add more volunteer opportunities for them going forward. And next slide. Okay, so one of the crucial things that kind of makes our program unique, but also, this is something that every program faces if you want to help out in your community, you also have to help yourself. So funding was a big thing for us getting started. You know, starting out, we were kind of just doing it on the go. We didn't have a classroom. We didn't have anything, but, you know, we're still mentoring kids. We're still taking kids on trips. We're still keeping up with their grades and you know, providing whatever assistance we could. But it was kind of with the funding that we received that we got the ball rolling at a level where we could partner with people. And so kind of uniquely for the city of Rancho Cordova in California is we have the Community Enhancement Fund, or the Measure H Fund. And what this is a half-cent tax that was voluntarily voted on by our community, or specifically to programs that are dedicated to bettering the community. And that's what it's really great living in Rancho Cordova, because we understand that, you know, the city is not going to come in and solve all the problems for us. So we have a real sense of a village here, and, you know, we decide to solve our problems for ourselves. And through the Measure H program, we got funded, which kind of kickstarted our first year. But like I said, with our volunteer work and our partnerships, we produce enough money to fund ourselves now. And in the process, we also give students work to do so. It kind of goes hand in hand, and our students get a lot of exposure with, you know, our council members and our city leaders, and they've built some really good bonds with them, and a lot of our students go on to work in the city now. So I really think that our program is very beneficial. We've had a variety of our students already, even though it's our third year. We've had some of our students go into the military or become officers. We've had students get accepted into four-year colleges with full ride degrees. We really had a little bit of everything. And so, you know, even though this is our, you know, only our third year, I do believe that this program is very unique in the way that it reaches out. And we have now started branching in with our middle schools and starting branches there. Not only that, with our elementary schools too. That way, by the time our students in Rancho Cordova get to high school, they already have a strong sense of professional development, vocational skills, volunteer work, and really getting a sense of community interaction. And in that way, they better themselves, and, you know, they're prepared for the future that they're going to face. And, you know, I just wanted to say before I go that I'm really proud of our students, because a lot of them are disadvantaged and they come from some pretty rough environments and some pretty rough backstories. But all of them, I feel like, through the mock program, have come together and really set their goals and kind of develop themselves in the way that, you know, they've determined their future now. So, and it's not going to be determined by their environment. So I wanted to thank you. And we do have a website. It's just www.cl3mock.org if you wanted to visit or adopt a Lancer. And if you want to reach me, it's just Charles Ellington, my full name, the number 8 @gmail.com. But thank you for your time, and thank you, Rebecca.
Thanks, Charles. Really remarkable progress and gains for you guys with such a young program. Really appreciate you sharing that information. We do have some questions that came in, but again, we'll ask those at the end. So now we are going to be joined by Rivera from Edinburgh, Texas. She's going to be speaking to us about her time as the secretary and time with the boards and clubs. Ella, the floor is yours.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I enjoyed everyone's presentations today, and I will be presenting mine. So, my community as a young leader. So, I am going to be an upcoming at Idea Scholarship at Edinburgh this next school year. I've been given a lot of ideas to my community, and I would like to share my story to everyone, since that is what I have been doing for a while now, and I believe that the Boys and Girls Club and my community has really given me the opportunity to express myself and express my ideas and my beliefs. So, next slide. Thank you. The Boys and Girls Club. So I've been going to the Boys and Girls Club for around 9 years now. I was pretty small when I first started, but the Boys and Girls Club really gives you a path to your future and really shows you a lot of characteristics for not only to being a good citizen, but also being a leader, which is really important since many of us want to be leaders in the world, and that is what we really need. I'm really glad that I grew up with something like the Boys and Girls Club because it really has given me a lot of characteristics that I need, and it really gives me a mentoring path to what ideas I could show and express to my community, which has helped a lot. Next slide, please. In my community. So now that I'm much more older, I have done a lot of things at my time at the Boys and Girls Club. Some things that I have been able to do at the Boys and Girls Club is being a secretary at the Keystone Club, which Keystone is a group of teens that have joined this leadership opportunity to help other teens in our community, not only members at the Boys and Girls Club, but teens around my community as well. So instead of them being instead of them doing something bad to our kids, have them being active and joining and being around other kids here at the club and around our community. So we invite them every Friday so they can have time to share and talk to new people and have ideas, and they really enjoy hanging out with each other and spending a good Friday night with each other, which is really important. And the ways that the Keystone Clubs help these teens is that we fundraise money so we could take them out. Recently, we have taken them out to eat at Sonic, and they have really enjoyed that idea. So we are planning on a lot more things in the future as well. But another thing we have done in my community is that we have, at the Boys and Girls Club, junior staff programs, and we have programs for the teens, which has really helped them in the future, such as Heritage, which helps younger members understand the importance of their mental health and taking care of their bodies, which is why I have started the community closet, which has been a really important role now to my Boys and Girls Club, since we are trying to have our younger members understand the importance of hygienic and mental awareness that they have to take care of as they're growing much more older, so they could understand the importance of being mature and taking care of oneself. Next slide. As I've mentioned before, a program that the Boys and Girls Club has offered is junior staff. So I've been in junior staff for the past 2 years now. And when I was once a member, now I am a mentor pretty much, which is such an honor because when I was a member, I always looked up to the older teens, which now I am one of those. The junior staff really has offered a lot of things, such as volunteering around my community, which gone to the food bank, the nursing home, and other places or organizations, which has helped us be very mature and learn a lot of life skills in the future, which has really helped us a lot. We have been talking to a lot of medical help, which really helps out the teens in where they could now do CPR, well, not full CPR, hand CPR on people who need it the most, or how to prevent major bleedings at the Boys and Girls Club by using these dolls, you could say, so we could get practice and maybe help with life, which has been really interesting to be certified on. And we've learned other life skills as well. And the Boys and Girls Club has really given the junior staff a lot of opportunities by helping them get a lot of supplies for the next school year, and where the teens go to JCPenney and have a shopping spree and get a supply list, which is pretty much a payoff of volunteering the whole summer and being a mentor as well. the junior staff program has really given the teens a good experience and given them the maturity of responsibility and how it is to be sort of working in like a real life situation job, which has really helped them a lot since in their recommendation letters they could say that they have done this, and having their resumes applying that they have volunteered, and which really helps them a lot, and it has helped me a lot as well. Next slide, please. I've been volunteering for a very long time, as soon as I turned 15. Some ways I have been volunteering was the nursing home. I have gone in a couple of times, and the people there are very lovely. I have volunteered at the food bank, which helps a lot of people, and the food bank also gives you a lot of knowledge on what the food crisis is here in the Rio Grande Valley, because we have a food desert, and we have a high percentage of diabetes in our valley, which helps us provide us knowledge that we didn't know. And the food bank not only gives out food to the people who need it, but also gives out information that helps people with their health and gives out new recipes to be healthier. And also, I have volunteered for the Salvation Army this past Christmas because me and a group of friends were interested in volunteering around our community, and we found out that the Salvation Army was doing the ringing of the red bells, which you've seen outside of your JC mall, and we were able to do that this December, which was pretty interesting because we really got to see how the community has reached together and seen how others view the Salvation Army and view other people in the time of needing, such as Christmas, especially since a lot of people may not afford warm clothes or food or etc. And it was really interesting volunteering in all these places, because volunteering in a lot of places really gives you the view of understanding our community much better. And I'm so glad to not only meet people, but also made a small but huge impact to these nonprofit organizations. Next slide. Youth of the Year. At the Boys and Girls Club, the Youth of the Year is very important because Youth of the Year is a title that has been given to members that have been going to the Boys and Girls Club for a very long time, and they share their experience, and they really talk about ways that they have helped or really helped with their community, and how the Boys and Girls Club has given them an impact or has affected them in their life. So as the Youth of the Year for the 2019 at the Boys and Girls Club of Edinburgh, it has truly been an honor since I've gotten a scholarship now. I've traveled to Austin to represent my club in a state level competition of behavior, and I have met a lot of people outside. I have met the Congress members that represent my community, which has been an offer at Austin. The Boys and Girls Club being Youth of the Year has really given me the opportunity to speak in front of a lot of people and share my story, especially of how I am a 16-year-old, and I have done many things such as the beauty pageant during my junior staff year, last year, and how I've made an impact in my community by being in the community closet, being part of the Keystone Club officer, and volunteering in a lot of places. So Youth of the Year is really offered to the members here at my club, and it is a recognition of being a member at the Boys and Girls Club. And it's an honor to be Youth of the Year because it really takes you to a lot of places. I've talked to members, official members in my city, which they have taken to even Colorado to represent my city, which has truly been an honor as well. Next slide, please. Also, I would like to say that my voice is a little bit raspy since I'm going through, since I'm very sick, so I'm sorry on my behalf. All right, so sharing my voice. As I mentioned before on the last slide, I have gone to Austin to represent on a state level of the Youth Year, which has truly been an experience. Going up there and talking to people up in Austin was really interesting because I got to meet a lot of other Youth Year members around my community, around the state of Texas, which they have shared their stories, and now I was able to share mine. I was given the opportunity to share my opinions on the influence of social media, which I believe that influencers or leaders really have an impact on how people view social media and how other people, younger viewers, and are influenced by social media influencers. That was one of the topics that was really impacted this year on the Austin trip to Youth Year. And before, I have talked to city officials, and I even got a proclamation of being Youth Year, which was such an honor as well. Sharing my voice has really given me a new perspective on how I represent myself now that I speak to people and tell them my story on how I am as a teen and how I plan to make a lot of changes in my future, such as making my parents proud and going to law school and making an impact towards other members as well. I plan to become a mentor and help a lot of people find their voices as well, since that is truly my goal. And I also wish to be part of the environment crisis that is going on recently. That is some of my goals that I have planned for the future. But to start, I truly believe that sharing my voice has really given me the opportunity to do a lot of these things, such as being Youth Year for sure, which truly has been an honor. And in conclusion, since there are no more slides to this presentation, to my presentation at least, I believe that some ways that I've shown leadership is by being a mentor to things in my community, such as the community closet, doing the pageant this past year. So thank you so much, Rebecca, and everyone that has been listening to my presentation.
Thanks, Daniela, for sharing your experience as a youth leader and a little bit about your time at the Boys and Girls Club. I'm sure I'm not alone in being excited about what the future holds and what accomplishments you're going to have in your future. So now we're going to take some time for a couple of questions. I think we have time for one for each presenter. So we're going to start with a question that came up during Maggie's presentation. Just the individual wanted to ask that it seemed like your presentation was coming from the viewpoint of a teacher in a classroom. So the question is, possible of the curriculum and programs to be used outside of a classroom setting, such as in a nonprofit setting or like a city organized youth council?
Yeah, thank you for your question. Absolutely. I've used the Mikva, obviously, as you mentioned, classroom, but also in clubs, specifically the roundtable discussion and reflection that was from our student council. We did not, in that particular project, use every single Mikva step, but as a Mikva teacher, I was kind of compile some of those skills and help sheets that I knew would work in that situation. So I definitely think that the curriculum, while it is more to the classroom for student clubs, it definitely can transition and teach a lot of those action civic skills at different levels and for different groups. So yeah, absolutely. You can definitely pick and choose among the curriculum your needs.
Excellent. For someone who might be interested in sort of picking and choosing different pieces of the curriculum, are those materials available on the website?
Some of the materials are available on the website. I believe that the Project Soapbox are available on the website, but I definitely would also just direct you to Brian Brady. Again, he is the executive director. It's brian@mikvachallenge.org, and he'll be able to point you in the direction of those curriculum that might suit your needs the best.
Great, thank you. Yeah,
thank you.
And Charles, this question, absolutely. Charles, for you, it's a little bit of a two-parter. The individual wanted to know, what was the catalyst for MOC? How do you think this might be replicated in other communities?
I think well, thank you for your question, first of all. But I think the catalyst for MOC was Rancho Cordova as a city has changed a lot. We used to be, back in the day, in the 80s and the 70s, the demographics and such were much different. We actually got a sister school, Folsom High School, that was built after Cordova, and what it ended up doing was kind of splitting the resources, the funding and whatnot, and it took a lot of people away from Cordova because, you know, Folsom had a little bit more money and whatnot. So with that happening, we got to see like a rise in a lot of youth that didn't have the support that they would have once had and whatnot. So the school, you know, it's a great school and whatnot, but, you know, my mentor came in, and he used to go to the school way back in the day. So when he came back to the school and kind of saw the state it was in, me and him got together because I was one of the youth at the time that was coming up. There's a lot going on with school, a lot of unfortunate situations that I wanted to change, and he kind of knew how it was in the past, so he wanted to, you know, bring it back to its former glory. So the two of us kind of came together, and you know, we designed the program to make the change. And then I think you said the second question was how it can be replicated, correct? Okay. So the replication process is it's simple, but it's all about finding the right people. You know, MOC, we have, like I said, we have our mission statement, and a lot of it is just building a foundation at the school with teachers and volunteers who are either very close to your community or on campus themselves. And not only that, but just students a lot of the control as far as what they want, because a good thing to focus on if you are trying to replicate this at other schools is that the main focus or the main problem that we kind of identified with our community is that a lot of the students' issues come from lack of funding or lack of support. So getting a large amount of volunteers that really care and are there to stick around, you know, the MOC program, it's very unique in the way that Cordova is really a community, but if you can find people like that stick around and then guide your students towards career paths, because that's a lot of the stress that they accumulate and is with financial needs. So I think those two things, if you focus on that, will give you kind of a good, you know, landscape in order to replicate the program.
Great. Thank you so much for that answer, and the information about how MOC started. It's really, really impressive that you guys were able to make this happen from a really grassroots standpoint. So congratulations on your work. And Danielle, this last question is for you. The individual wanted to know that given that you have been able to transition from a participant of Boys and Girls Club to now more of a leader in the club, is this transition from a participant to a leader in the Boys and Girls Club system, or was it kind of unique to your experience?
Making this transition from being a member to sort of like a leader at the Boys and Girls Club is really often common, because last year's Youth Year was really a mentor to me for this year's Youth Year competition. she was really supportive, and she helped me a lot. So her being a mentor to me makes me want to be a mentor for the next youth year or other members in the future. So it is truly like an honor to to continue what has been going on for pretty much a while. So each member usually becomes youth a year or participates in junior staff or participates in youth. And I'm so excited to ask questions. Thank you.
Great. All right, well, everyone, thank you so much for joining us on this webinar. That's all the time we have today. A special thank you goes out to Maggie, Charles, and Daniela for taking time out of their schedules to discuss the great work happening in communities and programs. I'll be sending a follow-up email with the recording and slides from today's webinar. There's also some contact information shared, so I'll be sure to include that. So if you guys want to follow up with any of the participants, you can. And then that email will also include a brief survey. You could just take 2 minutes to fill that out. It helps us future webinars and give us ideas for future webinar topics. And with that, thank you again and enjoy the rest of your day.